G'day folks, we're having a little look at the Delia today, the latest product from Melbourne Instruments, and one that was a bit of a surprise. I think it would have been fair to assume that if they were going to do their first keyboard instrument, it would have been a keyboard version of their synth module, the Nina, their first product. But this is not the Nina. It looks very similar. It has the amazing motorized knobs once again, and there's a few other similarities as well. But it's a different synth with a different architecture. So at its core, it is a 6-voice bi-timbral hybrid synth. So we've got all digital sound sources here. All the oscillators are digital through an analog filter, analog drive, and analog VCAs. So that's where the hybrid terminology comes into it. So there are some compromises when compared to the Nina synth module. It's just 2-part multi-timbral instead of 4, 6-voice instead of 8, no analog oscillators if that's important to you. But the good thing is it's a much lower price point, and there's some new features that arguably make this a more powerful synth in terms of sound design. So let's take a closer look here. So let's run through the oscillator section quickly. We've got 2 identical virtual analog oscillators, number 1 and 2. So let's just turn that second one down. These smoothly walk between the traditional shapes that you ordinarily find on an analog synth. Sound pretty nice to me. Then the third oscillator, let's just turn that one down. Third oscillator is a wavetable. Let's just bring up the wave screen here. Great about this wavetable oscillator is that it's expandable. You can upload your own waveforms on here. So this is actually one of mine that I put on. I've put a handful of weird ones on too. So great inclusion. I really love when manufacturers open up that functionality. Really lets you kind of customize the instrument and make it yours. But moving along, the fourth sound source here is a few different things. We've got, let's just exit out of this, a noise source. And you might have seen in one of the videos I talked about how noise sources should have tone controls. So awesome to see a tone control on there. We've also got this ring modulated mode with a tone control as well. I noticed that quite a few of the factory patches have a little bit of this mixed in. It kind of gives it a little bit more presence and air, and just, yeah, it sounds a bit more polished when you sort of mix it in with the other oscillators. Next mode is external 1, external 2, so you can run external instruments through the filter and effects. And then we've got this crazy mode, the feedback loop mode. So let's see if I can... It's pretty gnarly. So if you're looking to absolutely destroy your synth sound, you're going to want to be looking at the feedback loop mode closely. Oh, and I forgot to mention, sorry, there is actually a sub-oscillator as well. But moving along to the filter section, and probably the first thing you would have noticed as being different to the Nina is that we now have 2 filters to work with. So we've got the low-pass filter, which is analog, and we've got a high-pass filter as well. And you can link these to create some bandpass action. How cool is that with the motorized knobs? Then we've got this really nice analog drive as well, which really helps when you turn the resonance up, because on a ladder filter you tend to lose a lot of bottom end when you turn the resonance up. So overall, a really nice dual dual filter section. The addition of the high pass filter allows a lot more sound design possibilities than just the single filter. And just on a polysynth, it's great to have a high pass filter as well, just to keep that bottom end in check, especially if you're going to play live. You know, you want to make room for the bass player and the drummer. Of course, we've got an arpeggiator. It's quite a simple affair, but you know, it does the job. I'd love to see them add a few extra options in here, like octaves and maybe even some patterns. And then we have the sequencer, and there's two modes to the sequencer. We have the standard step mode, so record. And there's also a phrase looper mode. So this is more similar to kind of a loop pedal where you can, you know, overdub and punch in and out and all that sort of thing. And what is cool is that there is a quantization option as well. So if you do want it to be quantized, you can. But that's a great inclusion on this synth, especially for songwriters. You know, you can loop some chords really, really quickly and then come up with a lead over the top. Moving on to modulation, we have 1, 2, 3 LFOs to work with, 1, 2, 3 envelopes to work with, all the usual suspects in the LFO shape menu. But in the actual LFO menu, we've got a number of other options. We've got slew, retrigger, tempo sync, polarity, a few other things in there. Now I've got this bass sound lined up. Let's say I want to modulate that filter. So to do that, we just go into mod mode, all the knobs snap to attention. These are our modulation sources along the bottom here, so you can see LFO 1, 2, 3, etc. Everything will snap to attention once you select it. But yeah, let's see if we can use LFO 1 to modulate the filter. And it's as easy as that. Done. Really like that we've got level controls on each one of these LFOs as well. Makes tweaking this on the fly really, really easy. Like I mentioned at the top, this synth is bi-timbral. To set up your layers, you jump into the multi-menu here. And I've got this layer 1 set up with 1 voice, layer 2 set up with 5 voices. So we've got a monophonic bass and a lead sound. And yeah, just being able to jump between the 2 layers. Tweak your sounds on the fly, whether you're doing a keyboard split, or you've got a second keyboard plugged in, or you're doing a stacked patch like this one. The benefits of the motorized knobs are really on show here. Everything just jumps to where it's supposed to be. There's no parameter jumping. There's no sort of leaning over awkwardly trying to see the LEDs on endless encoders. So it's just a perfect system as far as I'm concerned. Now, if 6 voices seems a little light on for a bi-timbral synth, you can actually set this to 12 voice mode. Jump into the settings here and go to 12 note mode. Now, this is not true 12 voice polyphony because there's still only 6 analog filters under the panel here. So it sort of pairs up those voices. And there's a few options for how it does that. It's fairly convoluted to explain and demonstrate, so I'm not going to go into it, but they are worth exploring. While we're talking about voices, there's a very nifty panner function in here as well. We go into the patch menu Go to panner positions. It's at 1 at the moment, so it's totally mono. But if we hit edit, there's 6 different options in here. Now what these mean is, say we're on 6 now, it means it's going to alternate between 6 different positions in the stereo field. So if we just hit one key, you can hear it sort of jumping around the stereo field, and we can make that more dramatic. Hit mod, go to the panner here, and just turn it up. Let's go full so it's very dramatic. So it's actually sort of alternating around the stereo field in a sequence. And if we change that to, say, a different setting, say 3, it'll alternate in 3 different positions around the stereo field rather than 6. So you can hear it's a sequence, it's not random. It's a really interesting implementation. I haven't seen anything like that before. And while we're talking about stereo, there is also this spin function, which is a super trippy effect. I might just have to go to something with a more sustain. Crazy. Very, very cool. And something I actually haven't mentioned yet, as you can see, there is a vintage level thing here as well. So you can introduce a bit of sort of pitch wobble and inaccuracies in the tuning and the filter and all that. Yeah, you can hear it's a bit out of tune, it's got a bit of character to it, and so you can dial that in either subtly or however you like. And lastly, we've got 2 feature sets carried over from the Nina. We have the effects bank, there's 2 effects slots, and a choice of chorus, delay, and reverb. And then we've got this very, very cool morph function. And this allows you to load up 2 presets at once and morph between them. So a lot of creative potential in that morph function. And there is an expression pedal input on the back as well. So you could assign a foot pedal to the morph, have both your hands free. That'd be something that'd be really fun to explore in a performance scenario. So let's just do a quick recap there. It's a bi-timbral synth. Each layer can have 2 sounds loaded up that you can freely morph between. So 4 sounds potentially in play all at once. But potentially we could break that down further, because each one of these sounds has 4 different sound sources, the oscillators. So there's kind of 16 different tones available and in play all at once. That is an absolutely mind-boggling amount of sound design power, and something that you could really dive deep into. So that's everything I wanted to get through today. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of what the Delia is bringing to the table. A few closing comments before we wrap it up. This thing is built amazingly well. Good, sturdy, heavy metal construction. Definitely going to last you a really long time. I have seen a number of people questioning the mechanical reliability of the motorized knobs, which is quite understandable, but they're brushless optical designs, so there's nothing to really break on them. You know, you turn this knob, you get to the end, you can see there's some resistance, but you can force it and you're not going to hurt it. It's just going to go fine or go around again, I guess. And this is all programmed behavior. It's pretty amazing what they can program these knobs to do, actually. Like this one turns smoothly, but you hit coarse and now it's notched and there's a little bit of resistance and it sort of clicks into place. And one last thing I just found, actually, go into the system settings, global settings, you can change the color of the screen. Pretty cool. And you can actually buy these keys online, so you could customize the Delia and have things color-coded if you want. You don't necessarily have to stick with the red keys. So that's it for today. It's great to see Melbourne Instruments are back and kicking goals and representing Australian innovation in the music industry. Check the link in the description for all the info. My name is Mike. This is Store DJ's YouTube channel. I'll catch you in the next one.